Hello everyone and welcome back to another MSM Composer challenge video. So today I did a challenge that is pretty common that a few other people have done in the past, which is creating a song using only ethereal monsters. So that'll include all the single and double elements because of course we don't have the triples, quad, or quint in the app yet. So with that being said, that leaves us with 15 monsters to work with. So that's 5 singles and 10 doubles, so that's pretty exciting. So how I went about this is that I just picked a random key tempo and time signature because I felt like I might as well just randomly pick something rather than do like a spin wheel or something, I don't really know. So with that I chose the key of A major, the time signature of 12-2, and the tempo 310. So the really simple rules I used are as followed. So firstly, I obviously have to use all of the ethereals, and two, if they're a monster like a percussionist that has multiple sounds, I have to use all of their different sounds, which I believe I did, so yeah. And something that I allowed myself to do was use Rare Riff as the base because none of the monsters really struck me as like a base monster except for maybe like Kazilleon. Even then, Kazilleon is hard to use for bass because he has a split staff, and when you get higher up it doesn't really sound like a bass anymore, so it's a whole thing. So I allowed myself to use Rare Riff to cover the bass and stuff, so yeah, that's the only really exception I made for myself. But with that being said, let's talk about each monster really quick. How I went about this song was that I kind of like started a monster, did some of it, started another monster, went further, then continued that previous monster and all that jazz and built upon everything. So I'm gonna start off with Ghazt because I made Ghazt like the backbone of my song, because Ghazt is the backbone of whatever song it's in, obviously. So yeah, I kind of just made it do like a lot of like synchronized chords, if that makes sense. Basically like chords with like rhythmic accents, I guess you could say. That's the best way to put it. So I did a lot of that. I wanted to make it powerful, very impactful, so that's really what I did. It plays the same exact thing throughout just the entire song, except for some rhythmic change-ups at one point. But yeah, for the most part, it does play like the exact same thing throughout the entire song. For all these monsters, I'm going to play a snippet of what they sound like, so for Ghazt, I'll just play like the main thingy that they do. So here it goes. So for Grumpyre, I just really had him do like a chanting type rhythm. So he's very much a background vocalist, and so will a few others in this song. But basically, Grumpyre's addition to the verse he's in is basically, like I said, kind of acting as like a hey, 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 that type of stuff that you might hear in music. So, of course, it's like pitched and stuff because that's how the monsters in this game work. But yeah, it's very simple, but you'll get the idea because it's just like a quarter note rhythm the whole time. So, let me play you a bit of that. La, 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 la. For Reebro, it obviously carried the song with its beats and whatnot, so, I mean, there's not much to explain about it. It's a fun little, like, 3/4-ish rhythm, and I'm pretty proud of it. There's not much to it other than it does a few fills, and it plays its main drum beats. So, with that being said, here's a snippet of it. For Jeeode, I used it to kind of like highlight and complement some of Ghast's parts because I felt like it has a similar vibe to Ghazt and its sounds, so I felt like it would only make sense to have Jeeode kind of bounce off what Ghazt has and kind of like make it sound nice and a bit better. So outside of that, I didn't really do much with it, so here's a snippet of what it sounds like. So for Humbug, I wanted it to be one of the soloists because it's such a good monster, and I love the guitar sound font, so that's exactly what I did, and there's nothing much else to it, so I'll play you what I have for it. For Whisp, it's one of the more prominent vocalists in the song. It kind of does the similar idea to Jeeode, where it kind of like adds some spice to Ghazt stuff and like more the empty parts of the song. There wasn't much to it. I really just wanted to have a bit of fun with the Whisp because I love her vocals and it sounds really clean. So with that being said, here's the snippet of it. For Nebulob, it's another one of those background vocalists because I just really don't like Nebulob. If it was one syllable, I would be using it so much more, but alas, it's not. So I kind of just had it do some chordal outlining, I guess you could say, in some of the more busy parts of the song, so it got drowned out. But you can still hear it, don't worry about that. I mean, I want to make sure all the sounds are audible at least, or as audible as it is musically applicable, I guess you could say. So that's what I tried to do. I didn't want it to be the main focus by any means because the stupid double syllables is, I can't get over it. It's one of the worst offenses in the game. But yeah, I just did some random stuff with it, so here's how it sounds.
Jabba, Jabba, Jabba. Jabba, Jabba, Jabba. Jabba, 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 Jabba.
For Arackulele, I wanted it to kind of be its own thing while also complementing Ghazt. So to me, I feel like guitars are like kind of just like rhythmically strumming chords. So although I didn't really want to do that with Arackulele because it's not the best monster for doing things like that, I tried my best to like do like individual notes and kind of spice it up from there. So with that being said, here's the snippet of it. For Socks, I decided that it was going to be another one of the soloists, so it has its own little section where it kind of pops off. So after it does its solo, I have a second Socks that kind of does like impact hits on the main beats. So I thought it would sound good because it kind of does that when it finishes because it kind of slides into the first beat of the next measure. So I kind of was like, you know what, I'll just go with this and have it do like the main strong beats of the rest of the song because there isn't too much song after it, I guess you could say. So I kind of just had the second Socks do that. And the reason that I used two Socks is because of the audio balancing. If I used the same Socks to do both the solo and the impact hits, it would have been too loud for the impacts, so I kind of just wanted to have a Socks dedicated to those impacts so that I wasn't so loud. So with that being said, here's a snippet of it. For Boodoo, since Reebro is already doing a lot, I only had Boodoo do kind of like a steady rhythm with a few accents here and there because that's kind of what maracas do. So that's what I try to incorporate. There's a few mix-ups throughout the song, and yeah, I'm gonna play like a little bit, so here's Boodoo's sound. For Bellowfish, I kind of use it to accentuate the Rare Riff and the bass it was doing, but I also kind of made Bellowfish kind of just like an impact monster, almost similarly to Socks. So it's kind of like a mix of both the bassline and just like a general like impact thingy. There's not much to it other than that. It's a pretty straightforward track, so I'll play you what I have. For Jellbilly, I used it as kind of like a vocal bass of sorts when I had Rare Riff cut out for a little bit. I think it turned out really well. It sounds satisfying, and I've always thought that Jellbilly has a really nice range. So I wanted to use him in this way because it kind of showcases what he has. So it's nice, and here's what it sounds like.
Dane, 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 Dane. Dane, 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 Dane.
For Kazilleon, as I kind of mentioned earlier, he kind of can be a bass. So what I did was I kind of took inspiration from the sound on Ethereal Island, and I used that to kind of like spice up the rhythm of the bass a little bit. So it didn't do too much, but it did enough, I think. So here's what it kind of sounds like.
Do wop, do wop, do wop, do wop, do wop, do wop, wop, do wop, do wop, do wop, wop, do wop, do wop, do wop, do wop, do.
For Dragong, I really wanted to use the thuds of the feet, or whatever you want to call them. So I did that, and I'm pretty happy with it because it's super bassy, and I love that. So yeah, I used the foot cymbals a lot, and I think it sounds pretty good. So I'm only going to play a snippet, but here's what it kind of sounds like. And for Fung Pray, I decided that it's going to be our third and final soloist, so I kind of gave it its own thing. I found some difficulty with this because when you get lower on the scale, I feel like it gets quieter and just less desirable to use at such a fast pace because you start to not be able to hear it when you go super fast, so that's the downside of using Fung Pray with such a fast track. But I think I was able to use it, and I feel like a lot of it is thanks to the held notes. So with that being said, here's what it sounds like. And of course we have a Rare Riff, which carried the bass line because that's what it's intended to do. So yeah, I just did some funky little stuff. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but I'll play the main idea, so here it goes. And with that being said, that's all the monsters I used. So in total I used 16 monsters, and I think it sounds pretty good. It might sound a little bit crowded, but overall it sounds pretty smooth in my opinion. So I'm pretty proud of this project, and I hope you all like it too. So with that being said, enough talking, and here is what the finished product sounds like.